Another loaded show on the docket for today's San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as always, thanks for taking the time out of your day to watch the program. As for what we're getting into, some major Lions injury news that could play a massive role going into the NFC Championship game. Detroit making a pretty important signing at that tight end position with the player who we've talked about here on the show. And we got to give some love to Jauan Jennings, an absolute baller who came up massively against the Packers in the divisional round on Saturday night. Let's start off with that Lions injury news. Detroit banged up along the offensive line. Couple of marquee players injured going into this game. Frank Ragnow is dealing with a sprained ankle and a sprained knee. Suffered those injuries against the Buccaneers when he got rolled up on in the divisional round on Sunday. And Jonah Jackson going to be most likely out against San Francisco on Sunday per head coach Dan Campbell with a knee injury. Let's start off with Jonah Jackson here. The direct quote from the Lions head coach: "Doesn't look good for next week." He played 27 snaps against a very good Buccaneers defensive line, and he gave up no pressures in 18 pass rush reps. His backup, Kyode Awosiki, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, he gave up a team-high 7 pressures on 25 snaps. That was good for a pressure rate of 25%. So he really struggled at left guard for Detroit, and it looks as though he might get the start against this vaunted Niners defensive line, which has to bring its A game against this potent Lions offense in order for the Niners to make it to Super Bowl 58. Jackson's Pro Football Focus grades in 2023, overall grade of 59.7, pass blocking grade of 62.7, run blocking grade of 58.2, and the league average for Pro Football Focus is 70. Sometimes I think the numbers are a little bit lower than what the play actually is. I thought that Jackson was pretty good this year on a Lions offensive front. That's very, very solid. Gave up 2 sacks, 8 hits, 24 pressures, not ideal, but that sack number, a pretty good performance there for Jackson in 2023. As for Frank Ragnow, went to Arkansas. He was a Woo Pig legend, drafted by the Lions a few years ago. He's become a backbone for that organization, and this year a second-team All-Pro behind Jason Kelce of the Eagles. For Ragnow, suffered that sprained ankle and sprained knee. Always one of those unfortunate injuries that you see when there's just bodies flying around in the trenches. In this case, Jared Goff got sacked, so went into the back of Ragnow. Body got bent back. It was ugly. He admitted after the game he probably should not have played. There was a touchdown drive for the Lions where he hobbled off the field. It looked as though he was nearly in tears. That's how much pain he was in. And if the Lions are without Jackson and a hobbled Frank Ragnow, you would think edge goes to San Francisco, right? More on that in a moment. For Ragnow, spectacular year. Overall Pro Football Focus grade of 88.1. Pass blocking grade of 73.9. Tremendous in the ground game, 90.1. Only surrendered 1 sack, 5 hits allowed, and 18 pressures. Now, why are these injuries significant? And why could they play a big role going into this game on Sunday? It's an opportunity, of course, for Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave to have a big game. But when you think about Jared Goff, he's not a great athlete. He's not going to extend plays to his right and his left and improvise by using his legs. He is, by definition, an old-school pocket quarterback who likes to hang out in between the tackles. Jared Goff also likes to target the middle area of the field because with Ben Johnson calling plays with a couple of really good tight ends, crossers, inside posts, and for Jared Goff, if you muddy up the pocket and you blur his sight line, and he feels that pressure in the trenches, in his face, he's simply a different quarterback. That's not just the eye test here. The numbers certainly back that up. We pivot to some advanced Goff metrics. This isn't all that we have in the arsenal here on today's show. True completion percentage this year, 74%, number 5 in the NFL. As I talked about in the preview a little bit earlier today, last season and a half with Ben Johnson calling plays, Jared Goff has been a very, very good quarterback. His deep ball completion percentage, 48%. Number 6. Guess where Brock Purdy ranks? Number 1. Pressured completion percentage. It goes all the way down to 20th. So if the pocket is cloudy, if the pocket is muddy, and you get pressure on Jared Goff, starts to hesitate. He double pumps. That gives the defensive line ample time to get to Goff with sacks. His clean pocket percentage as compared to the pressured completion percentage, it's number 6 in the NFL at 70.5%. So when Jared Goff can drop back and he can survey the field with all those weapons, with the play calls, with the play designs, with the good offensive line, he can pick you apart. Goff, as I mentioned, also likes to target the middle area of the field. He's not going to be able to see that middle area of the field if you have Hargrave, if you have Armstead, if you line up Nick Bosa at defensive tackle, Chase Young at defensive tackle, Sebastian Joseph Day. He was starting to get some snaps for the San Francisco defense. The interior pass rush for the Niners going to have to come up big on Sunday. And then there are these advanced numbers. Jared Goff struggles on the road, but the indoor-outdoor splits are fascinating to me. The Lions play indoors. Yes, I know that reporter asked Todd Bowles what the weather conditions were going to be like and how they'd impact the Buccaneers. That's what happens when he sent a local news reporter to a press conference. But the Lions do play inside at Ford Field. And they also play a lot of games indoors because they always play every single year on the road against the Vikings. So this year, in 2023, Jared Goff played 11 games in a dome. And the numbers as compared to him playing outdoors, completely different. Indoors, completion percentage, 69%. Threw for nearly 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, 8 picks. He was sacked 15 times in those 11 games, and his rating, 104.0. Now, he played outdoors in 6 games this year, so about half that sample size. His completion percentage goes down 5 points. He threw, obviously, in less games, significantly less yardage. Touchdown to interception ratio, 7-4. And if you're like, well, Chase, the games are cut in half. All right, let's double it to 12 outdoor games to 11 indoor games. That would still be a touchdown to interception ratio of 14-8, which is even worse than the 23-8. Not as good. And he took 15 sacks outdoors in those 6 games, and his rating down from 104 to 87.9. Where do the Niners play? Outdoors. Did Jared Goff go to Cal? Yeah, NorCal ties, right? It's going to be a raucous environment at Levi's Stadium. Thankfully, the weather is going to be pretty good in the mid to high 60s with sunshine, no rain. That's going to help Brock Purdy, though, on that other side. If you think the Niners will beat the Detroit Lions, I need everybody watching right now to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. I also need you to support the show and start making game days a lot more fun for yourself by downloading the PrizePicks app. $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America. And it's daily fantasy sports made easy. You pick 2 or more players, you choose more or less on the projected stat lines, and you can win up to 25 times your money. I was a winner on Saturday night. Of note, there are injury insurances when a player goes out in the first half. So because Debo got injured, I wasn't knocked for having more than 16.5 rushing yards for number 19. But I did connect on Christian McCaffrey, more than 92.5 rushing yards, as well as Aaron Jones, more than 69.5 rushing yards. So $10 to win 30, pretty good payout right there. PrizePicks.com/CLNS, largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America. Do not miss out. The Detroit Lions making a signing this morning, bringing in a player who has NorCal ties. That is tight end Zack Herz. Tom Pelissero breaking the news that 3-time Pro Bowler Zack Herz, oddly, signing with the team going into the NFC Championship game. Ertz will start out on the practice squad with plans to potentially elevate him to the NFC Championship game. A boost for the final stretch. And what a little run here potentially for the 33-year-old to sign with the team and potentially play in an NFC Championship game after a week of prep. Ertz went to Monte Vista High School in Danville. He played his college football at Stanford. There were a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation that after Ross Dwelly went down with his ankle injury that maybe San Francisco was going to bring in Zack Herz. Kyle Shanahan was also asked about that. They never did it, even though they checked in on him and did their due diligence. At 33, he is not the same three-time Pro Bowler that he once was when he was a stellar player for so long with the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the best tight ends in the NFL for a long time. Prototypical pass-catching tight end who didn't do a lot of blocking. This year, 27 catches, 187 yards, a touchdown, and then was let go. He got his wish from the Arizona Cardinals. The expectation was that he was going to try to latch on with the playoff contender before the end of the regular season. Never did, never came to fruition, and now he signs with Detroit going into the Final Four. And I think this is insurance for Sam Laporta, who hurt his knee in the regular season finale against the Minnesota Vikings. Laporta has been awesome this year. Rookie campaign, 86 grabs, 889 yards, 10 touchdowns. He was a go-to option for Jared Goff all year, and he's been a little bit banged up, still productive over the last two games against the Rams in the wild card round and then against the Buccaneers in the divisional round. But a backup tight end, a veteran, high-level playoff experience, that's what Ertz is able to bring to the table. And you think about what Detroit has been able to do, heck of a first-round haul for the Lions. Brad Holmes has done a great job as that team's general manager over the last couple of years. They drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. They drafted Sam Laporta, and both of those rookies having a profound impact on the Lions this year. Be sure to subscribe because this is your go-to spot for Niners news every day, multiple times per day, year-round. We try to make this the standard for Niners talk right here on YouTube, and that's a big reason why so many people have supported us. 112,197 people subscribe to the show worldwide. Don't miss out and be a part of the faithful movement here at Chat Sports. Some Jauan Jennings appreciation. You think about the 2021 season, 2022 season, 2023, when the Niners, especially in the guts of the game, coming down to the wire, when they need a big play on third or fourth down, who's the receiving target often? It hasn't really been Brandon Ayuk all the time, Deebo Samuel all the time, or George Kittle. Sometimes and oftentimes it's been big money Jauan Jennings. And once again against the Packers in a big spot, making a couple of massive catches. And how about the throws from Brock Purdy to Jauan Jennings? On the night, 6 targets, 5 catches, 4 first downs, and 61 yards. The Niners would not have won this game without him. And because Deebo Samuel went out with his shoulder injury and before that evaluated for a head injury, players had to step up. Defenses weren't afraid of Ray McCloud or Chris Conley. They should start to take notice of what Jauan Jennings is doing because this guy is a critical component to this Niners team, and he's just a menace out there. When he catches the ball, he's hard to bring down, I should say. He makes guys miss. And then in the run game, and just to this offense in general, he brings a toughness, a physicality, a grit. And that rubs off on his teammates. People rally around Jauan Jennings, and after that Packers game in the locker room, the media scrum around Jauan Jennings. It was vast. A lot of people wanted to talk to him because once again in a big spot, it was him coming through in crunch time. So let's show some love to third and Jauan, rapid fire type JJ down below in the comment section. And be sure to give me a follow on our social media pages. I'm on X at Chase_Senior, Instagram at Chase_Senior. Been putting a bunch of content out recently on my Instagram page, so it allows you to stay further in the know with everything that's happening and going down on the Niners front.